Hi folks, this is All the Fruit. It's the 4th of October and I'm starting my October foraging in my beautiful and extremely fruit-rich city of Heidelberg in Germany. Surprised to see that there's still a lot of kiwi fruits hanging here. I haven't collected anything for almost a week and they still seem to be of perfect quality. Very good. Big fruits, very sweet, easy to collect. Well, except if you want to get all of the ones which are like 10 meters in the air. Can tell the little kids that when I was young, walnuts look like this. Nowadays they're all infected with some insect. You can comment which one it is. And they mostly look like this. You have to be pretty lucky to find a nice clean one. Only two. Stopped my bike just for 2 walnuts. Expended a lot more calories than I'll gain from those, but at least I have so many kiwis. Yeah, despite having missed a lot of them because I didn't collect them for like a week, I have so many kiwis that I'll get a sugar flash. This fig is being kind of grown like a hedge, still producing a lot of nice and tasty figs. Pretty old tree or hedge. I've known it for decades. Here the ripe ones are infected. I've known it for decades and it's a variety which was unusual decades ago. Yeah, climate change is not only good, a lot of new parasites are coming. The Drosophila suzuki is infecting most fruits, so we have to eat the figs half ripe. This other thing is infecting the walnuts. Oh man, I'll get the sweet fruit overkill today. Tasty lamb squatters is profiting from the late summer rains. Same goes for this mellow. All parts are edible. It's a close relative of the marshmallow. No, really. Don't eat the bugs. Well, the black nightshade would have been fine even without a lot of rain. Quite a plentiful harvest. And catnip. Pity I have no cat. Cats love those things. Actually, there are several different plants which are called catnip, which make cats crazy. I noticed that the banana kiwi or matatabi I planted this year is also being sold as catnip. So when it's big, I will seduce all cats in town. Buckwheat, by the way, has a very short development period. That's why it's very popular in places like mountains or Russia or Scandinavia. The nightshade was not bad and quite plentiful. You can collect the whole bunches at once. So, but no, you cannot collect the whole bunches at once. You have to remove the rotten fruits. Go. Those blue figs look so yummy, but fortunately inaccessible. Quite a good size fig tree for German standards. It's really a tree. As tall as this 2-story house, however. On this side here, on the south-facing wall, This fig tree or big shrub used to dwarf it. It was basically the size of this house before they cut it back. At one time this used to be the biggest fig, probably the biggest fig in Heidelberg and maybe one of the biggest ones in Germany. After it's been cut back, this one by the way is growing in a way you wouldn't have found when I was young. When I was young they froze down to the ground every couple years. It would only grow as scrawny little shrubs. I mean, this one is from that time. It's planted, or it grew right next to this pillar there at this little terrace. And because they are growing so fast, it will destroy the pillar sooner or later if it's not being removed. But now it hasn't frozen to the ground for many years and made a nice, beautiful young tree, hanging so full of huge blue figs. Look at the size of those figs. This is some really good variety, probably one which I haven't tasted yet. They look so good. First cold day in weeks. It's very sunny, so it's gonna get warm soon, but now at 10 it's still a bit cold. And since I am not content with the giant sugar flash I'll get from the fruits, I snuck into the student canteen to get some more heavy sugar load. A couple days ago I checked on this feijoa stand, but did I also make a clip? Well, the plants are hanging pretty full of fruits. I think it's slightly less than last year, but still more than enough. For me they taste a little bit chemical, so I don't like to eat a lot of them. Most fruits are still kind of smallish, but they are already big fruits. Yeah, this is starting to get soft. Oh, okay, not so much less than last year. Look at this stuff. Lots and lots of fruits. And the other shrubs are similar. Not so much here. No, not so much on this shrub. Still more than enough for my needs. When they get ripe, they fall to the ground. Seems like there is not a single ripe one yet. I wonder if this apricot was planted on purpose or just grew from a seed and then it was left standing and probably even watered, otherwise it wouldn't have survived the last couple summers. Yeah, looks even like it was fertilized. Let's see. Is it spiny? Kind of, almost. Yeah, looks like a seedling. What do you think, folks? I would say it's a seedling. They don't escape from cultivations often here in Heidelberg. In Mannheim, which has a more continental climate with drier, hotter summers, they are more common. But I guess with climate change, they'll become common here too. That's good. Apricots are very good fruits. More than 30 years ago in my school in Mannheim, I had a tree right next to my seat. Well, I chose the seat right next to this feral tree. It was growing from under the wall. It was really big. It yielded buckets full of apricots every year. Unfortunately, the kids used them to throw them at each other while they were still underripe. But still, almost every year I got a lot of apricots. And back then in Germany, an apricot tree was still something quite unusual. Now I'm always happy when I see one of those. I mean, apples or feral apples or cherries or plums or even peaches are much more common, but apricots, still something amazing. Yeah, when you don't have a garden, you just make one. A couple years ago, the state TV wanted to make a video clip about some student community growing fruits and veg and other stuff on the balcony or the windowsill, and I suggested this one to them. Figs, tomatoes, more tomatoes. Yeah, you can never have too many tomatoes. Some citruses, thickberry, I wonder if they even know it's edible. Some mustard green, some broccoli and cauliflower. I think the broccoli and cauliflower were not too successful. Some beets, laurel cherry, kohlrabi, also not too successful. I think this is some sort of, is this some sort of strange plum with strange leaves or ornamental apple or whatever? You can comment on it. Cucumbers or pumpkins? I would say cucumbers. A potato next to a potato fruit, ginger, peppers and eggplants, some herbs like basil and oregano and sage. And those also have a couple of things. I wonder if this is from the same people as from this. I wonder if they are spreading around more tomatoes, those little tomato chilies, bigger tomatoes, eggplants, more ginger in the background, more peppers. This is some Zolano, what is it, Violaceum or what? When you have no pumpkins, you just put plastic pumpkins. That's also a way. More tomatoes, more eggplants, a raspberry, another eggplant, and some other cabbage relatives. Nice. And where do the yellow tomatoes come from? Not from this plant. That's also a nice idea for decoration. Basil and mint and similar stuff. Not even sure what this is. Is this some sort of mint too? Oh yeah, smells like mint. Very interesting type of leaves. Yeah. Some greenery around the benches is always good. Also prevents the cars from running into the benches. And when you have some greenery, why not some edible greenery? Definitely a better idea than the plastic banana plants over there. The student prison. Yeah, there was a time students were so posh, only the university could imprison them. I never landed them. It was retired at my time. I landed in other places often enough. No, not this courtyard. Where is the courtyard of the student prison? That's the courtyard I'm looking for. Yeah, there are many ways to get into this building complex. It's basically the old university, basically where the director and the prison and other important parts of the university are. And here this little courtyard used to be full of plants in pots. A number of them edible. Then they had some construction site to build this new staircase over there, and now not a single potted plant. It was such a beautiful little corner. Well, over there, right next to the prison, I see a feral tomato. Still, one feral tomato is not a replacement for the nice plant collection that was here years ago. Those tomatoes were planted a bit late. We could have the first frost soon. Today seems to be the last really warm, basically hot day. I wonder if those will get ripe, but well, if there will be any tomatoes on this plant before it freezes. However, recently I learned that you can actually eat the whole tomato plant. Also a nice young loquat tree and a nice apple tree here in the middle of the old town of Heidelberg, where fruit is actually very rare. So much black nightshade, and quite big one on this construction site, but it seems the plants are pretty young. They have tons of fruits. Is this all black nightshade? Wait. This could be something different. I see one ripe fruit here. The plants are very tall. They are like 1.20 meters or over 4 feet. Oh, wait. Let me taste it. This is not a typical black nightshade. This is the new stuff that I'm finding in the Mediterranean. The fruits are smaller, they are purple instead of black, and they taste different. This is the first time I see this in Germany. And down here, they're also very rare. Yellow nightshade. It's a totally different taste. This tastes a lot more like tomatoes Well, this purple one has a very strong umami taste. Yeah, the yellow nightshade is a specialty of Heidelberg. I know no other place where it's common. So this is yellow nightshade, also the strange Mediterranean nightshade. God, 10-15 years ago I would have written a paper on this thing. Now I'm too lazy. Feral grapevine and also thistles. In spring, in a wet, warm spring, they can actually be quite tasty. I like to peel and eat them in early spring. It's almost dark when I reach my... Okay, it's almost dark when I reach my farm, but I cannot miss out on those tasty fox grapes. Pretty good since most of the summer was really hot and sunny. Very sweet. Also, I read that, or heard that the autumn in parts of the US is still quite warm. There's like 80 degrees in October, where it shouldn't be 80 degrees anymore. So I guess not in Florida, but what, New York or Washington or whatever. It's the same here. We had some cold spells like in August and September, but now this might actually be the last hot day with 26 degrees during the day, 15 at night. Warm and sunny, good for me, because I have to finish my farm work, but of course bad for the plants. Long hot summer, and now long hot autumn. It's too much stress. The next morning, finally, some walnuts on the ground. Yeah, I think even the wild boars cannot handle the amount of fruits and walnuts, and above all, chestnuts. This is, I think, still some summer apple. Yeah. Tastes like roter Klarapfel, which is a German or an European summer apple. Apples are not my favorite fruit, but this is a good one. Yeah. Not a bumper crop of walnuts. A bumper crop would be to easily collect more than I can carry. But at least we're gonna eat today. The little country road is buried in chestnut fruits. Most of the forest would look like this right now. However, I'm too busy to go far into the forest and forage for chestnuts. They are small, but they are plentiful. Yeah, this is basically the main nut crop, the main food for most wild animals in the Heidelberg area. They are so spoiled that you can even find single uneaten chestnuts all the way into spring, so almost no wild animal here cares about acorns or beech nuts or all those maple or hornbeam or such nuts, because we have so many chestnuts around here, thanks to the Romans who brought them here like 2000 years ago. Rubus caesius, the blue blackberry with a distinct taste, quite nice. Also very prolonged season. I haven't seen a lot of them in years, but you can find them for many months more or less continuously. Interesting. I notice a fatty smell with all those crushed hornbeam seeds around. When I tried them, the inside was too small to be worth foraging. But apparently the cars crushed enough to produce the same smell you get under a chestnut or walnut or hazelnut tree when the cars crush thousands of seeds. Very faint, but still discernible. Virginia creeper, an invasive vine from North America. Yeah, it is a true vine. It is in the Vitaceae family. However, the tiny fruits are so full of oxalate crystals that they are just not worth the pain. Just wondered how an Urtica caudata ended up in this pot. It's not native to Germany and officially it's not introduced. It's a tasty edible species with incredibly painful stingers. And then I noticed I'm in front of a flower shop. So yeah, I once wanted to write a ton of papers on weeds in nurseries, greenhouses and flower shops, but I never came to it. But basically, yeah, you can find the craziest stuff as weeds in ornamental plants trade. First very mild raining weeks. Yeah, I look like a pig because we were loading timber today, but I escaped. I have enough workers to do the dirty work for me. Yeah, so now I am on this little Mediterranean garden with a special microclimate between the river to the south and the wall and the hill to the north. So let's see what less frost hardy stuff we can get here. One of the last warm days, I guess in 2 days I'll be walking around in winter clothing. So here we have a pomegranate. They haven't frozen back to the ground for about 10 years. That's the longest period they have survived here without freezing to the ground. The plants survived even before, but everything above ground used to die. And the last time this happened around 2013. As you can see, the lower branches, every single fruit is gone. However, on the higher branches there is still a little bit. Okay, climbing's not gonna work, but here you can also see that it's a very spiny one. So probably not a modern variety, but maybe even the rootstock or some wild frost hardy stuff. The fruit looks ripe enough. Let's see how good it is. Okay, I sat on the wet bench. Yeah, the ones in Germany don't get much better than that. Sour and tart. However, I just bit into everything. Still sour, but not tart. Yeah, I'm always very amazed by the pomegranate, just like the fox grape, which I have here. It's one of the very few fruits which can grow, well, not only in Germany, they can also grow in very cold places like parts of Russia and Canada, but they can also grow not just in the tropics, but in lowland equatorial coastal areas. So pomegranate or fox grape, you can find them in coastal equatorial areas in like Malaysia or Java, and it doesn't really get more tropical than that. But you can also find them in large parts of Russia and even in parts of Canada. So two amazing fruits, two of the fruits with the biggest geographical range of all fruits in the world. What about the bitter orange, the only citrus or citrus relative that grows well here? I can already sense some smell, but I'm afraid that most of the... Yeah, there is some smell, so they are not completely unripe. They are kind of ripe-ish, but too small. And a couple bigger ones which are on the ground. It's a little bit early for them to be on the ground, but the plant has drought stress. One of the best living barbed wires in the world. Even the fruits which are still on the plant are very small and underdeveloped. Yeah, they smell ripe. Kind of ripe-ish, but not a good year because of all this drought stress. In late summer we had more rain. Actually in July and August we had some rainy periods, so I guess it tried the second time. You can see that there are a lot of young unripe fruits. Of course they will not ripen here. Even the first harvest is nothing really remarkable now because they are not being watered in this park. But the second harvest they will not develop properly before the first frosts. The monk's pepper has developed its peppercorns. Still don't know which parts are mainly used for culinary purposes. Is it the peppercorns? Is it the peppery leaves? Is it the flowers? It's the opposite of Viagra. It makes you into an involuntary monk. That's why they were used as spices mostly in monasteries. However, in Mediterranean areas, this thing kind of replaces or supplements the willow. The branches are incredibly supple and sturdy, so you can make baskets and everything else from that. I've still seen this craft active like in Gozo, an island next to Malta, where all those monk's peppers were coppiced. There they are native, here they are not native, but with climate change they grow here. So folks, if you are too active with your girlfriend, or girls, if your boyfriend is too active with you, that's the spice you need to use with them. And they will soon lose all interest in you and just play video games and lie around, and they are not even gonna try to cheat on you. No more fruits on the peach almond. Actually, I thought the peach almond is a very modern thing, but I found it in lists of varieties and species in the Heidelberg area from 200 years ago, so quite a historical thing. Here another nice big pomegranate. Still a couple fruits on the tall branches. Clever of this loquat. As you can see, it's flowering now in October. Probably it will more or less finish its main flowering season till mid-November, when we usually have the first frost nowadays. Here you can even see the first real fruits in October. That's good. Well, this thing has fruits, has ripe fruits every year, a very ample crop, and yeah, I'm quite confident for next year because it's flowering right now where it's still warm enough. There was just a bumblebee down here, but it escaped. Yeah, here it is, despite the rain. It's warm enough, there are enough insects. Look at that, so many little fruits up there. That's gonna be a good harvest next year. Yeah, the fruits ripen over the winter and spring, and then you can eat them usually in May. So, I thought that the main reason that this thing is fruiting so profusely each year is the microclimate. Look at all those small fruits. But actually, it might also be the very early flowering time. But this year, most of the loquats flowered very early. This one here flowers at the same time, but usually doesn't have a lot of fruits. Just in some years it has a lot of fruits, in other years it has fewer fruits, despite being twice the size of the other one. Getting a bit cold for walking around like this. Without the rain, temperature would be okay, but temperature plus rain, plus a bit of wind, plus wet pants from hauling logs for hours. I think I have to either get dressed or get indoors. This Poinciros orange is doing better. The fruits are still quite small, but looking quite good. Next to it, the strawberry tree Funny, it already had ripe fruits many weeks ago, but now it still has a lot of unripe fruits and also flowers. Guess it got quite confused by the weather in the last weeks and months. Yeah, I already ate fruits. When was it? In September, I think I even filmed it. But now in October, most are still rock hard. Interesting. Very extended fruiting period. Here is one that's almost ripe. Not a strawberry. It's just called a strawberry tree. It has big sweet and sour fruits with a flavor similar to strawberries. Look, even the hibiscus is confused. It's flowering again. But I'm afraid this one is not looking good. I think they should have watered this garden this summer. Maybe they did, but not enough. This tree has been suffering for many years, but now this rot plus the drought will maybe finish it off. Pity, it has edible leaves, flowers and fruits. Yeah, lots of edible stuff here, but even stuff from a Mediterranean climate like the Burnum tinus here also dying, but not from the frost, probably from the drought. And the flowering quince, not even having a single quince growing on it. Oh no, somebody beat me to the pawpaw. The only plant I'm aware of now that's in the public domain in Heidelberg, in a public park, after they destroyed the much bigger one in the Botanic Garden. And this one had one single fruit. I think it was hanging right here, probably, or maybe not. The fruit was big and very well visible. And I checked it like 4 or 5 times. And now somebody beat me to it. Don't think it's an animal because I don't see any remnants down here. It is behind this little fence-like thing, which is not a fence but made for the grapevines. So probably a person came and picked it. I hope they knew what to do with it, because pawpaw is still very unfamiliar in Germany. So I really hope they knew what to do with it. Yeah, well, I told my friend Rosie about it. Maybe she came and picked it. Yeah, I'll ask her and come back to you then. It's already the 14th and I'm foraging in the area of the old NATO headquarters. Crategus cruscali. This hawthorn with quite big fruits. The best thing you can say about them, that you can forage them all the way until spring. The worst thing you can say about them, you can forage them all the way until spring, because they are tough and not too tasty, so that not even the birds like them. Those new neighborhoods, you can find a lot of interesting stuff, usually when people are allowed to plant stuff themselves. If they are not, it's like this boring stuff. Here somebody, I guess, snuck a couple tomatoes into the garden. I totally approve of this. And here they snuck one pumpkin. I hope the German equivalent of the Homeowners Association doesn't get them. Seems to be tiny ornamental pumpkins still. Most of them are perfectly edible, even raw. No, Italians would love them, or French people in this state. Very tiny pumpkin with a big flower attached to it. They love to eat those. Lamb's quarters, rucola and amaranth, all tasty edible things. Yeah, we had some quite wet periods the second half of summer. That's why, despite having a couple drought periods this year, we still have tasty green, fresh wild greens in autumn. This little park behind the headquarters. One of the checkpoints is still here. Let's check what's around the checkpoint. Very careful with the European yew, one of the most toxic plants on the continent. Every part will kill you very quickly and painfully, except for those pink adults, but spit out the seeds because they will kill you. Sweet and slimy. Not too juicy and not completely ripe. Also, they look really tiny and dried up in some cases. I guess they didn't get enough water. It's not often you see mistletoes that low. Here they are growing on a Saskatoon. And yeah, they are really prolific, starting a little bit above knee height. Yeah, usually they grow many meters up to trees. So here the berries are not edible, but you can apparently use them to make glue and trap birds, which you can eat in turn. Pine seeds are being eaten wherever pines grow. Basically all pine seeds are edible. However, usually people prefer bigger ones. The Scots pine is the only pine native to the area here. And the seeds are so small that usually I would say you expend more energy collecting them than you would get from them. If this looks like a crazy bumper crop bounty to you, well, technically it is. But I don't know any edible uses of the Paulovnia. I think it's called kiri tree. It's the fastest growing tree in the world. Big fruits, I guess. Slightly bitter, don't eat them. I guess if they were not toxic, you could find some way. They are tender enough right now and they are half ripe. Guess when they are completely green, if they are not toxic, you could definitely cook something with them, but I didn't check. I also didn't believe that it was the fastest growing tree in the world. The Chinese claimed it grows 6 meters a year. Well, until right in my street, less than a kilometer away from here, I found one which grew over 6 meters in a year. Okay, it was cut off and had a big root system to pull nutrients and water from, but still it managed to grow up to the 2nd floor in just 4 or 5 months. Yeah, very soft and light wood. Very invasive, unfortunately. And I don't know. Please comment if you think it's edible in some way. In Germany, the Scots pine usually grows on the driest and most meager soils, the driest and the wettest too, and also the most acidic ones. But here you can see, despite being watered profusely and regularly, it still struggles. Those were planted years ago and they still struggle. This is more or less the most drought-hardy native tree around here. And it's losing so many needles. This here is some sort of self-governed commune. For example, they have a free cupboard there where you can get a lot of stuff. But such people also often plant interesting things. Like here, some artichokes and lots of nice spices. Toicrium chamedris. Over there, some rosemary, some thyme. I also don't know the other spices. This is Sanguisorba minor, and this is Melissa officinalis, and this is sage over there, and the plum tree. But I'm more interested in the huge and tasty fruits of the Chinese hawthorn. It seems to have a lot less fruits than last year, but they're even bigger. Still sour, not completely ripe. Here's a wood sorrow. I wonder if it will survive the winter. And here a poppy, a relative of the plant opium is derived from, and just as potent. A peach tree, of course the season is over. Here's some winter green cabbage. A nice big A nice big basil plant. It looks like it has already survived the winter. Parsley, and look at that. The raspberries are still producing in mid-October. That's nice. And some rhubarb, much too small to harvest it. What have we got here? Celery, and this seems to be coriander. Lots of tasty stuff. Yeah, if you just have a small garden, plant herbs, because yeah, you can get enough fresh herbs from a very small spot. But other stuff, yeah, if you have a bit more space, you can also plant stuff like cabbage and raspberries. People closing their windows, thinking, what's this strange guy filming here? Another plum tree. Spineless blackberries over there. More sage. Malva sylvestris var mauritiana. This has become really common. It's being sown pretty much everywhere. No, I don't object. It's totally edible. Let's see what else this commune has to offer. Another plum tree. Oh. I wonder if it was, if this was planted by the city, because if it was planted by the local people, they would water it regularly. Since the city doesn't want to come all the time, they put those bags and fill them just from time to time. Look at that. Even the olive tree has a bag. The olive is an incredibly drought-resistant thing, and here they are watering it. And they have chickens, yeah, healthy eggs. That's great. And there are people living in wagons. Yeah, as I said, it's some commune, and in such places you can find a lot of interesting stuff. Like those teeny tiny chilies. What is this? Bird's eye chili? It's definitely tiny. Here, some sort of malvaceae. They are all edible. A young kaki tree, no fruits on it, or maybe the kids have already harvested them. Then, here we have a German medlar, not in season yet, it will be in November. Again, some black nightshade, and here a pomegranate, and even the pomegranate is being watered, and the fig. Okay, they are not watering the fig. Hello. Oh, this looks like a nice playground. Beautiful. Cherry and plum trees, nothing too unusual here. An apple tree, an ornamental cherry over there. Guess nothing was planted in these boxes this year. I wonder if they are producing bananas, and I wonder what type of banana this is. Really interesting. And there is another one on the lower floor. Some akebi, but like 99% of all the plants I know, this is not producing any fruits. And another one, same thing. Well, the ones which are producing profusely are less than a kilometer away from here. And not a single bee has come here for pollination. What a pity. Some pears and kakis and plums and apples and ornamental apples. The ornamental ones are just as edible. And this is a bright red hybrid variety, species cultivar. Quite aromatic, very crunchy and pretty sour, but quite good at this stage. And well, it might get less crunchy and less sour, might get even sweeter and more aromatic. Here somebody planted a couple peppers and strawberries. Yeah, I like those places where people just plant some edible stuff. among their houses. For some time this was kind of discouraged. And aronia, here one fruit bunch, and the currant, which has been out of season for months now. Some grapevine with beautiful autumn leaves, and some raspberries. However, those are not fruiting, maybe a different variety. But the aronia is. This tiny aronia is producing tons and tons of fruits. They're a bit tart. Actually, it's supposed to be, I think the new name is Sorbaronia michurini or something like this. But they still refer to it as aronia. Pear trees, olives, spineless blackberries, and an apricot. Haven't had an apricot yet today. But yeah, a wonderful fruit tree to plant. Some sort of rose which is not doing too well. And the whole hedge made from rosemary. I can smell it. A tiny loquat, probably a seedling tree. Saskatoon and rowan, both edible. A mulberry right next to some laurel cherries which are fruiting out of season. Well, no, they have young unripe fruits out of season. Those are the normal seasonal fruits, already dropped. The second harvest, I don't know, man. If we get a very mild winter, they might ripen at some crazy time in winter or early spring. Let's see. Let's keep an eye on them. Some teeny tiny grapes. Either this is some very small Oberlin variety, or it is something wildish that was brought just as rootstock. Most people would say they are not worth foraging, but they are sweet. A trace of sourness, flavor similar to elderberries. They even look like elderberries. Totally tasty enough. Much tastier than the Virginia creeper. It's also in the Vitaceae, but this is Parthenocissus, while this is Vitis, and Parthenocissus fruits are not so tasty. A feral cherry plum. Oh, I forgot to check on my farm. Actually, they should still be kind of in season-ish around my farm, but I think this year I'm not going there anymore. I finished work there weeks ago and still went until a couple days, but now, yeah, most of them don't last as long as mine, or no, rather the ones of the neighbor are lasting very long. More figs, yeah, you can never have, well, yes, you can have enough figs. One big fig tree or shrub is actually too much for most families, but yeah, you cannot plant enough figs. You might think that there is nothing forageable on this one, but don't look just at the color of the figs, also look at the shape. See those two hanging and being wrinkled? Look at those. That's not the look of unripe fruits. Okay, I got the overripe one, which is most probably rotten. No, still good. Tastes like fig jam, man. Yeah, green fig variety. A lot less competition because people think they are unripe. Stuffed my face with a lot of delicious figs. Here's some topinambur, because nobody has harvested that for some time. And here a mini kiwi plant, but I don't see a single fruit. Maybe they forgot to plant a pollinator. Good that I planted lots of pollinators in my mini kiwi collection. Now I just have to wait for the fruits. Nice tomatoes here. Nice collection. Well, and it seems there has been a lot of stuff in those pots, but most of it It's already gone. Also here some nice rose hips, however most of them are already rotten. This looks like a peach almond. Doesn't look like a peach, maybe it's an almond. Let's see. Oh, what does it say? I cannot even read it. Well, anyways, some more grapes here. Another fig tree. This is a traditional way of cultivating trees. Yeah, it's pear trees were cultivated like this quite commonly, especially in areas usually too cold for pear trees. You would put this right on a south-facing wall. There is a south-facing wall behind them, but it's like 2 meters away. Still, they don't have a lot of space here. I guess they want the branches low. The lowest are at knee level, the highest right now still easily harvestable. So yeah, if you have such a narrow space and want a lot of pear trees and don't want to climb them but want to pick them from the ground, this is a good idea. And the wall also helps. It would help even more if they were right at the wall. But even with this distance, it's still quite nice. Here they have planted, I think this is kenaf. Like most Malvaceae, you can eat it. Yeah, tell me if this is kenaf or some other Malvaceae. I would say it's kenaf. We are back at the chicken coop. Elderberries. Oh, still some out-of-season fruits to be harvested here. And some tomatoes. Some apple and plum trees here, mostly plum trees. Mangold. Guess this medlar was not watered early enough, so I don't know if they will be able to save it.